Hi, this is Alan from Alpus Group, and I'm going to tell you about the conclusion and recommendations from my book Project Deliverance, which is about to be published. This brings together my experience of working for contractors, for designers and also design consultants, and also for clients themselves. And it's a summary of a large amount of experience of projects of various sizes carried out under different forms of contract, different contractual arrangements. So these are the conclusions, which I'll go on to further summarise 20 key issues for project success. But these are the conclusions from the projects that I've been involved in management of and carried out over many years. The developer's potential return is finally balanced between achieving the best possible mix of the development, such as housing and flats, with fewest possible affordable housing, meaning there's less profit margin on affordable housing. He may also have a mixed use development with some retail and commercial or even industrial units as part of the mix. Commercial would include hotels as well. The development cost equation depends very much on timely completion of units for rent or sale, whatever the envisaged exit plan is. And if the developer is delayed for any unforeseen reason, then this can quickly erode the potential return on the investment, because the profit margin is being eaten away by the ongoing project costs. Time is therefore of the essence to the developer, so in some cases he may be prepared to pay a premium over the lowest market rates for services such as construction services if he can maintain a high rate of progress, and this means that the time cost equation comes out favourably. He gets better progress, therefore his development costs are lower overall. So asset owners have the most interest in the lifetime cost of the physical assets, so they must ensure that the design brief obliges the clients and the consultants and contractors to consider this. So in simple terms, what we're talking about here is low maintenance for future and sustainability for the future, as opposed to procuring the cheapest possible materials and subcontract components, because later on down the line ongoing maintenance costs may be higher. So you choose the right materials to give you lower maintenance costs and a more sustainable building. The project manager needs to balance the requirements of the particular project brief and ensure that he safely delivers on time within the allocated budget and to the required quality. The designer, who's appointed by the project manager or by the client or owner of the building, effectively means multidiscipline design teams, because modern buildings are complex and will involve architectural inputs to coordinate the whole design, structural, civil engineering, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, lift engineering, specialist cladding, consultants, lighting designers, all sorts of specialists involved in a complex modern building. So the designer is a single label which pulls together all of those specialisms. Safety: the construction design and management regulations require there to be a CDM coordinator nominated for every project in the UK. So this is a very important, not negotiable, is absolutely enshrined in law, and you've got to carry out this CDM coordinator role. The contractor is engaged by the employer or the client on a particular form of contract, and in an ideal world this would require him to work collaboratively with the developer and the designer so as to overcome all problems, and the contractor would be entitled to whatever variations or changes may arise as a result of design changes or brief changes, and these are recognised under the contract. Some developers and infrastructure owners prefer to let contracts on a design and build basis, and this is a good approach because it means that all the responsibility for the design and the construction is in one corner, and There's no waiting for people to produce things that then hold up the contractual progress. The contractor under that form of contract takes the risk and responsibility for the design as well as the construction works. Other developers prefer to work without a main contractor, using a construction manager instead, engaging a series of works or package contractors. And these package contractors could include many different specialists, such as piling and foundation specialists, steel sheet piling specialists, lift and escalators, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, including air conditioning, structural steel work, decorative metal work. These are all specialist contractors who only carry out that type of work, and you may engage them to carry out a particular scope of work on your project. It would also include specialist lighting, internal and external landscaping, window cleaning equipment, cladding or many different types and materials, specialist glazing. So from the above list of specialisms, it can be seen there's a high level of expertise in the specialist subcontractors, which will probably not be present necessarily in the design consultant's office. So specialist subcontractors tend also to be seen as part of the design team effort, and the trade contractor, specialist contractors' shop drawings will be incorporated into the design as it evolves. Building information management and modelling can be used to coordinate all the designs in a single model and database, which will have a more efficient effect on the construction process. What is clear is that with the complexity of modern development of all types, there's a need for contractual arrangements that encourage collaborative working between all the different parties associated with any project. For any particular project, there may be a certain number of personnel required for the construction phase on site, but these will be supplemented and supported by a large number of people who make up the supply chain for the project, involving off-site specialist designers and manufacturers who prepare and supply the many components needed for the project or program of works. If it's possible to maintain good personal relationships so as to avoid contractual disputes, then this will also help the atmosphere on the project. The role of the project manager is to assess all the requirements of the project brief, to weigh all the relevant factors and constraints, and to manage the available resources to the best effect in order to safely deliver the project to the right quality and within the budget and timescale required. So conclusions about property development from the earlier chapter. Developers may carry out one-off developments, or others may be professional developers who carry out repeat developments and may specialise in particular sectors such as residential, commercial, hotels, with a long-term interest in maintaining the quality of such developments for enhancing their reputation. All developers must conform with the town and country planning regulations, and especially the local planning authority requirements in respect of planning gain and affordable housing quotas. So usually if you're carrying out a development of more than 25 units, you will have to make a contribution to affordable housing. Other local authorities have different policies, so it does vary from area to area. Developers rely on demand in the economy for the particular sort of developments that they carry out. So just at the moment in 2020 and 2021, there's a surplus of commercial space. So there is a shortage of residential housing, a critical shortage, and therefore it's been decided by the government to give certain permitted development rights, which are the subject of a separate video, which enable people to convert buildings from commercial to residential purposes with certain conditions. So for there to be a high demand, there needs to be a buoyant economy within the country as a whole, and thus the ability to pay for assets. And government policy over recent years has been to encourage property development, and in the last budget there were 130% capital allowance is given in certain circumstances for investment in plant and machinery. So the government is doing everything it can to facilitate by relaxing the planning laws, using the permitted development rights, and also by giving various tax concessions to support development in the economy. Developers will usually time their marketing and sales to suit a rising demand so that they can take advantage of increasing market prices. So obviously developers look at the cycle, the property development cycle, and they can time the completion of their units so they're available for sale or for rent at a suitable time in the economic cycle when the demand is increasing and prices are rising. Mega projects such as Crossrail are unique, usually massive programs of work rather than individual projects. They demand massive funding, massive resources, and generally can only be carried out with a government type of subsidy, maybe delegated to London, but effectively it has to be subsidised by the Treasury. These mega projects would require government funding. It's difficult to find private investors who are prepared to take a risk of such a large magnitude of such a project that, like Crossrail, has gone on for so long and has still not actually reached a conclusion. It's sometimes the case that it's difficult to prove the feasibility of such projects, and this sort of issue is being demonstrated on HS2, where there is a lot of discussion about the relative benefits and disbenefits of HS2. Resources and money required to complete such mega projects may dictate it's completed over a long period of time, like Crossrail, 30 years or so, and projects are subject to inflation over such a long period, and therefore final costs may be difficult to predict, as has been the case with Crossrail. I think it started out 30 years ago with something like a budget between 2 and 3 billion, and the latest estimates are approaching 20 billion. So it's important to undertake a comprehensive risk assessment on such projects so as to establish the realistic budget and timescale, as well as adequate contingency sums for the risk profile. In some cases, planning permission may be required, which itself may be a significant risk. So in the next video, we'll go on to conclude with a list of 20 key issues on which the satisfactory completion of any project depends. So see you in the next video. Cheers.